Ahora. Pronto.
Yalla!
Rápido!
I got time for a quickie.
Big shout out to Vox Cinemas Qatar. They legit have the best theater in the country at Doha Festival City. And make sure you're following them on social media at Vox Cinemas Qatar. Now on with the review. Underwater is a 2020 sci-fi horror film directed by William Eubank. It stars Kristen Stewart, TJ Miller, Vincent Cassell, John Gallagher Jr., Mahmoudou Afi, and Jessica Henwick. It's PG-13 and 95 minutes long. The movie centers around a crew that works on an underwater drilling rig. When the rig is compromised due to extreme pressure in the deep sea environment, the crew is trapped and has to use their wits to escape before the station completely implodes. While trying to escape, they'll also have to avoid deadly deep sea creatures that are hunting them. I really loved the way that they did the introduction, the title credits. They use news clippings, blueprints, and other print media to show the nature of the situation that they're in, what the station is about, what their mission is, a lot of backstory so that when it gets going, you're not lost. And the way that it transitions from the blueprints to an actual flyover of the drilling rig is pretty cool. Right away, I noticed the music. It really stood out to me. It's very ominous. It has a great feel. It adds a lot to the tension of the film. And speaking of that flyover of the drilling station, the production design for this movie is just out of this world. It's just very, very detailed. It's impressive on how lived in it looks. It doesn't look fake at all. It looks and feels like a real industrial facility. It's very no frills and Spartan in nature, but everything that is there that shows has a point. When it's not just willy-nilly, you can tell they put a lot of thought into the way that they place things, what the certain details were, and it adds a lot of atmosphere to this movie. But my favorite thing about the production design is probably the suits. The suits are unreal. From what I've read, they weighed between 140 to 200 pounds depending on what size they were. They really reminded me of a mix of the suits that you see in Gears of War and StarCraft. Honestly, I could talk about the production and set design and the suits and everything else for a while, but I think we should actually get into the characters in this story. Right away, we're introduced to Kristen Stewart's character, Nora. She's not your typical final girl. She's brave, she's strong, she's capable. She's not a complete badass. She does have some vulnerability. She does get hurt as she goes through. So you can't identify with her on a human level. You don't feel like she's just this badass killing machine. Now, as the story goes, she does get stronger. She does get more capable, but that's, pretty realistic because when people come under adverse conditions and they've been trained well, it's accompanied with a higher performance level. For me, she was the best female sci-fi protagonist since Ellen Ripley. It also helps that she has this inner monologue at the beginning and the end of the movie, so it gives you more of an insight onto who she is, what she's thinking. So after we meet Nora, we meet the station itself. Again, like I said, the production design and everything is brilliant, but what you really notice is the tension and how it is established through mood, through lighting, through sound, or the lack of sound. The station itself is most definitely a character. The beginning of the movie really is just insane. At the 10-minute mark, it just takes off like a rocket and it never slows down. And I'm happy to say that this is an amazing ensemble cast. There's moments of levity, there's serious parts, there's sad parts, and it never feels hammy, it never feels forced. They just work together really well. It feels like maybe before the production happened, they hung out beforehand so they got to know each other. I didn't feel like William Eubank, the director, was putting out a product. He was putting out a film that he was really passionate about. A lot of the stuff that goes with the dialogue is the sound design, and it's not just these amazing sound effects that they use for the creatures and the station itself. There are a bunch of moments of quiet in this movie. You don't hear much, and when you do, it's really menacing. And there's not a whole lot of jump scares. It's a lot of tension building, and so when you do get those jump scares, they're really effective. Even though it's PG-13, it didn't feel like it. It felt like a rated R movie to me. There are some kills in here. They look great, they're impressive. Some of them are very sudden, and they're shocking. And because the acting and the characters are so good, when these characters get taken out, you really feel crappy, and you wish that it had not happened, or if it did, maybe it happened a different way. I enjoyed the fact that nothing feels like dumb exposition. It doesn't feel like they're talking down to the audience. A lot of this movie is show, not tell. There was so much that was shown and not told that I wish that the movie had been a bit longer and we learned more about the technology of the station. There's just so many interesting things going on. And even though you have this really slick but gritty production design, it's complemented by really sparse lighting. There's certain parts where they don't have any lighting around. The only lighting is their flashlights, and it's so effective. It almost has a documentary feel to it, like they're wearing GoPros or you're walking with them. There are very few camera angles or movements where I felt like it wasn't something that a person or a cameraman couldn't have done. I think the creatures look kick-ass. If you're a Lovecraft fan or just a creature feature fan, this movie is definitely going to do it for you. There are some nice practical creature effects, but even the CGI stuff looks really good. What's really cool is the fact that H.P. Lovecraft's entire body of work is available to the public. You know, you can use it and not have to worry about copyright stuff. So I'm thinking that means we're going to see a lot more Lovecraft movies. But so far, this is one of the best Lovecraft movies I've ever seen. And it's not just the creature design that makes me feel that way, it's the mood of the film. It's the unknown nature of the creatures and where they come from. It's what the creatures cause people to feel and the way that they cause people to act. And there are even certain lines in the movie that if you are a Lovecraft fan, if you have read some Lovecraft, you know that they're references to some of his stories. But it's not all about the monsters. There are a ton of great moments with the characters, their interactions, their dynamic. It just gives this movie a real human feel. You know, there's a lot of heart and soul to it. These aren't super deep characters, but the things that they talk about and the stuff that happens and their actions really do get you invested in them. One of the things that really shocked me about this movie for us viewers here in Qatar was that it wasn't censored all to hell. There were only 2 small cuts that didn't really affect the movie at all. And what I'm saying is when they're not wearing these big heavy suits, they're running around in these swimsuit type undergarments. And they never cut, they never cropped, they never did anything that distracted from the movie. So I'm definitely giving this my watch it in Qatar stamp of approval. You can go and see this and not have to worry about censorship ruining the movie. Now, it's not a perfect film by any means. There are a few issues. There was some stuff that you can definitely tell was, you know, ADR, some voiceover stuff that they put in after the fact. I would have loved to have had a little more time with the different characters, got to know them more, heard some more backstory about them. I mean, it does do more than a lot of horror films do still with the characters, but still, the characters were good enough that I wish I just had more time with them. And as much as I love the lighting and the sets and the cinematography and all that kind of stuff, the second half can be very dark and murky. Sometimes it's hard to see, and it mostly takes place in a sparse environment. There's not a lot to look at around the characters. It just kind of focuses on them. Now, I get why they did that. It's to get you more involved with the characters, to give you a claustrophobic feel, and to make you feel like you're trapped in the bottom of the ocean with them and that these creatures are trying to get you. So it works on that level. But again, if you are going to be watching this at home when it comes out on Blu-ray, make sure you turn your lights off, you bring up the brightness of your TV a little. Because there are a few times where even in the theater on that big screen, I had to really concentrate and squint to see certain things that happened. Now, everybody keeps dogging this movie out and saying that it's not original and that it's an Alien ripoff, which to me isn't fair because basically anything that is sci-fi that happened after Alien and has, you know, that whole trapped in a bottle feel to it is going to get compared to Alien. But the movie has enough unique elements that it really sets itself apart from that. And to be honest, when I was watching this movie, I didn't think about Alien at all. What I thought about, which is a weird combination, was the Black Mesa facility from Half-Life, Rapture from BioShock, and the Ishimura from Dead Space. You know, I thought about video game stuff, and not because it has like some video game plot or whatever. It just has these really interesting environments and these different things that happen with the environments themselves and the creatures and the characters. It just feels like it's influenced more by really great classic video games than it is by these horror movies. So this movie's only playing for like another week or a week and a half. So if you're in Doha, I definitely recommend that you get your butt to the theater in a seat and you watch this film. And if you do, make sure you go watch it at Vox Cinemas, of course. If you enjoy horror, if you enjoy sci-fi, if you enjoy a good, strong female protagonist, if you enjoy good performances by a great ensemble cast, this movie's for you. So with all that being said, what is my score? Drum roll, please. 8 out of 10.